Guten Morgen, Guten Tag, and indeed, Steve, Gutenberg to wherever you are in the world. Willkommen. Okay, I can't speak German. I'm not gonna keep this charade up. Welcome to this Wolfenstein: The New Order conversational between myself, Tristan, and Luke Riley. We've played, what, 3 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours?
Roundabout, yeah, 2.5, I think.
Of the new Wolfenstein. If you don't know what Wolfenstein is, it is, of course, the granddaddy of all first-person shooters.
The OG.
The OG. It's had a few comebacks over the years.
This is the
third
comeback tour. It's like John Farnham. Or,
it's basically like a German John Farnham.
Yeah. Or Kiss. Trying to think of a relevant example for our international viewers, of which we have more of than Australian ones.
I can't think of anything either.
Anyway, look up John Farnham. He's on Wikipedia.
Enough plugging of John Farnham, all right?
Yeah, well, there was Escape from Castle Wolfenstein, which was pretty competent, was pretty cool, had some cool set pieces. Then there was Wolfenstein, that Raven one that Activision put out, which was kind of
pretty forgettable.
Middling,
right?
Pretty forgettable. Like, I didn't finish it, and I love Wolfenstein. And now there's this one, The New Order, from Machine Games.
Yeah, Machine Games, which is, I believe, made up by ex-Starbreeze.
Yeah, from what I understand, from what I've been led to believe, it's the key Starbreeze guys who sort of brought us Chronicles of Riddick and The Darkness, which was amazing.
Awesome game.
Yeah, awesome game.
So great pedigree behind this game. But let's talk about the actual story of it because, I mean, it ticks all the Wolfenstein boxes in the sense that it's got the, well, Nazis.
Yeah, it ticks every Wolfenstein
and
box.
Dog food, but also, and mechanical dogs and things.
Dogs and
but
robots.
It's slightly different than previous Wolfensteins because even though the opening of the game is set during the war.
More or less, 1946.
Right.
Yep.
And then something happens, we won't say what. Well, I don't know how spoilery we want to get, but...
Well, yeah, it's kind of the opening, it's kind of the prologue mission, really. It all happens before the credits.
Yeah, which is a good 45 minutes or so
before
the
section
credits
before
roll.
You get credits.
Anyways, and then it sort of flashes forward with some awesome in-game time-lapsing, I might say, to 1960 when you BJ Blazkowicz, and you've sort of emerged back into the world that has been taken over by the Nazis.
Yeah, the entire
Nazis
world.
won. So the story, I think, is probably the most interesting thing about the game.
Well, it kind of fuses like that kind of alternate history stuff that has always seemed like such a great idea elsewhere. Like, remember that game, Turning Point, where it was like there was
Fall
Nazis,
of Liberty,
it was like Nazis through New York and all that sort of stuff. Great idea, awful game.
Or even like Resistance is like
Resistance is a similar thing,
but with aliens. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
And it fuses that with the likes of say like a game where you're under enemy occupation, like Homefront, which was also sort of a great idea, executed sort of middlingly.
Yep.
In a number of ways. But yeah, it was unique for one, and you kind of, and then it adds all that kind of crazy sort of Nazi occult weaponry, robot, electricity, zappy things. Has all that stuff, dogs, all that stuff into that mix. So what you get is a really different sort of game. One that when you play it, you're like, this plays like a pretty standard first-person shooter. Hits all the first-person shooter notes.
Yep.
But one that is, admittedly, quite different in sort of its, I don't know, setting, scope.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of horror in it as well. I mean, you mentioned the occult stuff, but yeah, the bit where you sort of find yourself in that Nazi sort of, I don't even know what you'd call it, but there's kind of those corpses that are hung up on sort of tenterhooks and being
there's like
incinerated.
Yeah, there's like you're in an incinerator, but there's always like bodies that have been clearly experimented on, I guess.
I found it quite like at one point the Nazis are like these hilarious sort of over the top sort of comical figures, but then there's like some really like the incinerator room and the Death's Head, is it Death?
Yeah, General Death's Head.
General Death's Head, who is quite sort of menacing. And then, of course, there's the torture scene, which is apparently the done thing in games. Well, it's a trend emerging from GTA 5 and now this. But
it's a trend now.
Yeah, it's officially a trend. Two makes trend. That is an expression. The I found that Trevor's torture scene in GTA 5 fairly sort of unpleasant. Obviously, it's designed to be that, and then, but in this one, it is quite sort of it's fetishism, right? Because you're sort of grabbing your torture apron and putting it on, and then grabbing your torture goggles, and
and then you get the chainsaw.
You are torturing a Nazi, so you can kind of, you know, justify it to some extent, but it's still kind of, it's a kind of, I don't know, it's a kind of a gross feeling that I don't necessarily enjoy. Like, I'm happy to shoot Nazis.
It's kind
in
of
the
like
face.
that scene is all foreplay and no
payoff.
And no payoff.
Yeah, so in that regard, it's maybe not as dirty as GTA 5 felt when you had no choice but to, you know, waterboard someone or whatever. I can't remember, but I had the treatment to forget it. So you're right, though.
But I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, it is quite. Yeah, it is quite sort of suddenly very disturbing compared to what had come before. I thought, like, I mean, the game is very violent, like from the word go, especially with the headshots. Actually, I mean, the headshots. Some of the most satisfying headshots. Yeah, the sound effect, the squelch. Excellent squelch in the.
Great squelch, guys. Great.
Perhaps unsurprising from the guys that brought us the Riddick games in the darkness as well. I mean,
and explosions will mince German soldiers, and you know, just like legs and stuff going everywhere. It's pretty over the top.
And the gameplay kind of has sort of Call of Duty-ish moments, like when you're rappelling up the side of a skyscraper. There's those set pieces.
Yeah, it's a little set piece driven.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. One thing that I did appreciate is that while you have those sort of moments where, like, I'm scaling a castle wall, shooting Nazis out of windows. I'm manning a big 88mm and shooting down a giant Nazi robot. But then it kind of steps back and has those sort of stealthy moments where you get a couple of different paths. One of those paths might be opened up by, like, remember that room? I don't know whether you did it, but the room where you go into. And there's a crooked sword behind some, like, pictures of, say, the Führer and a few other Nazi generals, and you straighten the sword and you open up a hidden passage behind the wall.
Right.
So, and that's very much like Wolf 3D. Like, I can remember just hours and hours of just spamming spacebar around the walls, trying to find those little hidden passages behind the paintings and the tapestries and that sort of stuff. So that's good.
That is pretty vintage.
And the stealth stuff I thought worked really well. It's pretty lowest common denominator kind of stuff, the stealth stuff. Like, the enemies they didn't really seem that astute. They don't really spot you from the angles that you think this guy might spot me from this angle, but he won't. Yeah,
not the smartest AI.
Not the smartest AI, but certainly not a noticeable step down from any other first-person shooter where they just kind of run out and just get shot.
Yeah, always funneling through doorways.
Yeah, coming through doorways.
Yeah, totally. It was standard kind of AI.
Yeah. And I mean, you played on Bring It On?
Is that the medium setting?
I think that's the recommended default setting.
That is what I played on.
Can I play Daddy, Don't Hurt Me, Bring It On, and I Am Death Incarnate? No, I opted for Bring It On.
Yes.
So I can't speak for, like, we played for a few hours, but I can't speak for whether the enemies are a little bit more cluey, can see better on the high difficulty levels, or whether they're just more durable.
Yeah, and I played the PS4 version. You, of course, played the PC version.
PC,
Rather fitting that you choose the master race for a game about Nazis. But I was watching over your shoulder, and it obviously still looks better on PC. I mean, the next-gen consoles aren't quite there yet, I don't think. It didn't. I mean, it was a totally fine-looking game on PS4, but not. It's not going to blow anyone away. I don't think.
I was a big fan of the dual wielding.
Always a fan of dual
through ammunition like nobody's business, but was very good at taking down enemies very quickly, turning their heads into mist.
Yeah.
And good against the armored ones, which have, like, you need to aim for their sort of face armor and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and there's those guys. I think you only actually fought one of them in the time that we played it, where you could just sort of shoot the tubes on their shoulders to kind of incapacitate them a bit.
Yeah. And you got the flamethrower guys as well, which is kind of like shoot the flamethrower tank, shoot the sort of
having an
fuel
explosive canister on the back of an enemy is a good design choice. I feel.
Yeah.
Hey, so let's just momentarily talk about bad design choices, and this is something that we've spoken about earlier. But and I don't want to seem like the petty guy, because a few weeks ago we were talking about Infamous, and I was complaining that you couldn't swim. But since it's now my thing, we have to talk about so like in this post Halo world, so many games sort of limit the guns that you can carry, 2 guns or whatever.
Yep.
Wolfenstein's not like that. It's very old school. You can carry all the guns in the game.
Yep.
In fact, you can carry doubles of them, so you can dual wield them, which is great. That's not the negative. I mean, that's totally cool with me. I love having a backpack that has no bottom, or does have a bottom. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Bottoms. But what my question is, and if there's any like developers watching this video that can answer it, please comment below. But my question is, in a game where you don't have to be discerning over what you can pick up, because it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have any. It's not an RPG. There's not a limit to what you can carry. Why do I have to press a button to pick up guns? Because in Wolfenstein, after every firefight and every room I went to, I was inevitably spending, at least a minute or two just walking around, trying to, because I was playing on the console as well, trying to line it up perfectly so I could press the square button to pick up the helmet or the gun or whatever. Why can't I just hoover that stuff up my, trouser leg?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that wouldn't, like...
It does slow down the pace, doesn't it?
Yeah, I literally do not understand why. I don't want to, like, if it wouldn't ruin the game for me. I mean, I'm already suspending, disbelief that I'm carrying all these guns. It doesn't matter that, all of a sudden I'm sucking
and the Nazis already rule the world.
Yeah, that's right.
We're already stretching it a little.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I just, and it's a small thing in the scheme of things, but it's kind of like, it feels totally unnecessary to me.
I agree.
Maybe you were playing it on PC, so I imagine it was maybe slightly easier to pick things up because you can just point at them and click it.
Yeah, well, I'd be lying if I said that I came out of the demo going, oh, I shouldn't have to pick all that stuff up.
That's the first thing I said.
But yeah, it was actually. Other than where the sandwiches were.
Yeah, that's right.
But
I was pressing the square button to pick up the sandwich. Like, why do I have to do that?
I do understand what you mean. And because it's something that I kind of felt slowed down the pace in the likes of BioShock Infinite.
Right.
Having to walk around
constantly
and,
rummaging in bins and things.
Manually pick everything up around that I needed to grab. And BioShock Infinite and Wolfenstein: The New Order are very different games. But having to sort of backtrack a moment, because invariably these firefights are going to be quite frenetic, and you're not going to be able to sort of pick up everything. You're going to be focusing on killing Nazis. So after each firefight, yeah, you're right. You do find yourself kind of going, okay, got to regroup, gather all the ammo, and then move on. I don't know. I agree with you, but it
doesn't break the game. Let's just say
that.
Didn't find a problem. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's just talk about just to sort of wrap up. Talk about just Wolfenstein in general. Its kind of place in the gaming world. I mean, obviously, it's a brand that almost everyone knows, despite the fact that it maybe hasn't. Reached the heights that it sort of hit with its initial release way back when. So, I mean, this game to me felt like, the story is really interesting, the characters seem cool. The gameplay is sort of just there, it's just sort of solid. So, is it going to be another sort of forgettable chapter of the Wolfenstein pantheon, Luke? Or,
I mean, I'd like to hope not, because of the confidence I have in these guys, like these ex-Starbreeze guys, and I know what sorts of games they make. So I'd like to see, assuming this game can maintain my interest throughout the entire duration, which it did for the first 2 hours. I'd like to see where they go, with it. It's a tough one though, because of the sort of the setup with this game. We don't know how it's going to end. Like, obviously, no one's talking about that. No one knows, other than the people that are developing the game. This whole 1960s alternate future with BJ kind of being basically the only resistance, because that's what he's told. He's like, tell me where. That's what I like. One of the things I do like about it is that he's this out of place guy. now. He's been sort of in this coma, sort of vegetable state for such a long time.
Yeah, it's like when they thawed out Austin Powers.
Yeah.
But not as camp. Maybe a little bit.
But not that different. It's pretty camp, but, well...
Yeah, it is. I mean, the Nazis are quite camp.
Yeah. Well, in this
apart from the terrifying ones.
Yeah, but I do wonder where they would go, though, because is it something you would resolve in this game, or is it something you would leave? I don't know, because it's kind of risky, because, you know, Wolfenstein, the last time Wolfenstein came out, they didn't make any sequels to that. So, I don't know, it's a funny one. Like, I admire how they've come out and they just want to make a single-player game for single-player shooter aficionados. They're not even bothering with multiplayer, because it's largely pointless.
Yeah.
Because unless you're going to make multiplayer that's going to attract people from Battlefield and Call of Duty, what's the point?
What if it had Titan Hitlers?
It better. You know what? I mean, I obviously didn't bring this up when I played the game with Pete Hines, who was out there.
Yep.
But they better have Hitler at the end of it.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I think that's probably what Wolfenstein games have been missing. Considering he was in the Wolf 3D.
The Mecha Hitler.
Yeah, the Mecha Hitler.
Yeah. That would, he has to be back, let's face it. I'm sure they could afford the rights. So that's Wolfenstein, the New Order. That's what it's called, right? The New Order,
yeah.
Wait, I'll just read it off the screen. The New Order is due at the end of May, I think, on next gen PC and last gen too. Is it on Xbox 360 and PS3? We'll look that up and we'll email you. So yeah, for everything Wolfenstein, the New Order, stay on IGN.com.